Tango 1 at the top, we are at pop-up vehicle. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action. Find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing that. The Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
Well, we were like right into. There's no hanging out today. Okay, we're just going. Some focus. That's how I start every podcast. Get down the hash, want some? Drop it.
Absolutely. 2?
We're not supposed to do it with whiskey. I don't like that.
You took 2?
Mm-hmm. Well,
what does it do?
Just like gets my brain like rolling, helps me like dial it in.
Let's go.
It's good for all my concussions. HQ Focus from HQ Nutrition. Go to their website. Use code Tango15. So welcome to the podcast, everybody. I am Tony Smith, your host, and this is the Tango 1 podcast. We're here to encourage you to do more and be more, and we try to bring on great guests who encourage you to do the same. And today I have one. Her name is Lisa Shurrock. She is a talented musician that hails from Kingston, Ontario. She's the owner of Elite Piano Studios. She's a former bikini model, an avid wakeboarder, and loves sports bikes. We met maybe like a couple months ago. We're kind of like sweet on the same guy, Mike DeFazio. So there's a little bit of like maybe some tension here between us since we try to share Mike. But
you're going there.
But anyways, I'm glad to have you on here, Lisa.
You, I don't know.
Yeah, he calls me a lot. He FaceTimes me too. But anyway, so thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So today's episode, we want to talk about like courage, being a female entrepreneur, establishing yourself in a community that you're not really from, building a meaningful community in that business, and music, training, and wherever else it goes.
Wherever the wind takes us.
Yeah, we had no script today, basically, as usual. I know that was like maybe a little bit irritating to you at first. You're like,
oh no, I'm actually very curious to see what develops today in our conversation.
What develops? Yeah, well, we'll see where it goes. Anyway, let's start to kick it off right away. Like, tell me about Elite Piano Studios.
Yeah, so Elite Piano Studios is it's interesting because I never grew up thinking I'm going to own a piano studio or what's developed into a music studio. I had no idea what I wanted to do because I wanted to do everything, which hasn't changed a whole lot. So teaching piano is something I started when I was 15 years old. And I was pretty good at it, but I never thought that was going to be my thing to do because my mom is also a music teacher. And of course, we all want to make our own footprint in the world and do something completely different. So I never thought that was going to be kind of my main thing. I was actually looking into interior design and all these other things. But as life took me to Windsor, I used teaching piano as just a means to live, and I enjoyed it. And decided, why not just make this into something more than me teaching out of my living room? So at that point, I bought my first commercial building. It's a very long story, obviously condensed. And that first commercial building was filled within 2 years. So at that point, I had a few, people that were working with me as music teachers and decided to level up. So that was a 450 square foot. No, sorry, that one was 600 square foot.
Like a little bit bigger than this little room we're in.
It was so tiny. I can't even tell you. And you might know the building. It was.
Oh, I probably do.
You probably do. It was an old transforming station.
Okay.
You know those little tiny brick, super old buildings that you see around town?
Yeah.
It's like the pumping stations, whatever. It's the one on Lozon Parkway and Little River.
Okay.
Right across from the W. You know the one?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was actually just out there yesterday.
Stop.
By. Okay, well, not at the pumping station. Like I was driving by that area.
So this building, it used to be a transforming station. And then when I bought it, I transformed the inside. It was just one room. And so when I bought it, I put some walls up and ended up having 2 grand piano rooms and a living room, where people would just kind of come and hang out and have their coffee while they're waiting for the kids. The problem was that I wasn't able to get any running water or plumbing over into that building. So I'm already thinking, oh no, like I've made a massive mistake. How am I going to have a music studio when I can't even have a functioning bathroom? And what I ended up doing is I found online there's this camping toilet that was used on Taylor Swift's tour bus. And so I had like this little note in there when the people, mostly kids, would come in to use the washroom that said like, this is fun, like this is Taylor, because it was actually not cool. So I made it work. I had like hand sanitizer and like it looked really cute, but there was literally no running water in this building.
And the health unit didn't come by, obviously.
Thank God, no.
Yes.
I flew
Kitty
right
litter
under
works really good too. Like we used to do raids and we'd have to be like sitting in like we'd rent like a U-Haul and sit there for hours waiting for like something to happen. And we'd get kitty litter in a bucket, and guys would just piss in the kitty litter. Well, that's a lot different situation, but you're like
more extreme.
Push your way through all the 12 guys in their stuff, lift up your crotch padding, lay
You
it
know
out,
what?
right?
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, we were talking about perseverance earlier, and there was no way that I wasn't going to have people in there and as comfortable as possible and able to go to the washroom. So not to get too graphic right off the bat, first conversation.
That's what keeps people here.
I'll tell you a little bit about this bathroom. You ever seen those diaper genies?
Yes,
you have
of course
kids.
I
you know
have.
the diaper
Yes.
genies kids.
Yeah, they make like sausages of like that is the grossest thing to me in the world. Hey, taking that when Danny would tell me it's my turn to clean, I'm like, what? Like I can't do this.
How dare you?
Anyways, go ahead.
So this was a glorified diaper genie. So you'd come in and you'd lift the lids, and there was no water inside. It looked like tin foil around the bowl. And once you were done your business, when you flushed it, it would expand and make all this crazy noises, and then it would suction it off and tie the bag and pull down the new one. So every night after lessons, this is how far I've come. I used to take out the bag of shit outside to the garbage, and everyone would come in, wow, your studio is so beautiful. And I'm like, thank you so much. You have no idea what I go through to make this a functioning thing. And I'm sure even if people are watching this that went to that studio, you probably didn't even know.
You don't think they noticed?
Probably not.
So obviously your new studio where you're
Yeah.
at right now, I mean it shows that you like your interior design. That was one of the coolest
Thank you.
places I've like been in. Like it's like unique inside. Like I went, I mean, little known fact about me, I played piano for 10, 11 years.
Well, Tony.
But I used to go to, it was called St. Cecile Academy or something.
Yes.
It was on Grand Marais.
Yeah.
And it was like an old building. It wasn't a bad building. I think there's something there right now. There's some kind of school or something. Anyways,
Yeah,
and I used to go to a
so
nun. And it was like very like, we used to play nun kind of music. And it was very like, that's how I, now a lot of your thoughts are made up from how you grew up and how you're raised.
Absolutely.
And that's always will be locked into my head. And then you're like, oh, meet me at the studio where we're going to take off on that trip with Mike. And it was like, I'm like, wow, this is not my nun studio.
Yeah.
It was very, very cool in there.
So you kind of hit the nail on the head with what I was going for. And I'm really pumped that you had that experience and that you actually felt that coming in, because that's everything that I was going for and more. Your story, especially like with our age group. Well, you're a little older than me, but your age group.
A little older.
I hear this all the time. The nun
I didn't just
story.
have a birthday though.
Hey, watch your.
Hey, just keep going.
So the first, I came out of teaching in my living room. I had no couch, no dining room table. I had no car. That's how I started riding those motorcycles that you mentioned. It's just because of necessity, because it was cheap. And then it just got fun. And I had nothing in this house except a grand piano. And that's where I started teaching. Then I got to the studio with the crazy toilet. But it was actually a super cute studio, and I actually loved it there. And sometimes I miss it because it was just super quaint. And getting from there and providing like a different type of experience for people actually loved coming in. I heard it every day coming in. And then developing this studio, which was a huge leap, because I went from the 600 square feet to almost 2,500 square feet in this new place. It was like, okay, it's time to sink or swim. And in developing the design of this, like on a napkin, the classic, okay, what are we doing, with this building? The whole idea was, how do we inspire people? Inspire them to want to be here, inspire them to want to play their instrument, because if they want to do it, they're just going to do it more, which makes them, develop their skill that much more quickly, right? Time in, just like Malcolm Gladwell says, that 10,000 hours to become like an expert at anything.
Yes.
It's just time in, just like anything. So how do I cultivate that type of mood when you walk in? So having touched on the whole idea that I thought I was going to be an interior designer, I was like, okay, well, let's kind of use that kind of fun part of my brain here. So, I mean, we've got beautiful high ceilings. We've got double wide music studios in every single room. So in a typical studio, I've toured a whole lot of studios over all of Ontario, and a few in the States as well. And every single one is at least half the size of our room. So that was really important to me, that they're double wide, so that when you walk in, you have room to think and create and expand. And there's also room for our grand pianos. So it was really important to me that we put grand pianos in every single piano room, because they're the best. I didn't want, $1,000 keyboard. I wanted like the big boys, because I wasn't raised on a grand piano. I had a little, old 50s upright piano, which was fine.
Yeah, that's what I had.
There you go.
I mean, we moved that baby like 5 times. It's actually at my sister's, so it's still in our family. We moved that
cool.
thing. Yeah, it's heavy as hell.
Like, pianos become heirlooms, right?
Yeah. I don't think that thing will ever leave our family.
Yeah,
it's
that's
been part
precious.
of us forever.
I love that, and
Yeah.
hopefully that it becomes special enough that it's passed down the generations, and then people want to learn how to play it, right? It's our hope.
Yes.
Because then they can come to me and I get more business. So that's
Yes, I mean, you'll get more business for sure. Like, more people that want to play piano and play instruments, and piano is the logical place for people to start, right?
Yeah.
As far as instruments, is that still that was what I was always told. Is that true from your experience?
You're absolutely correct. So you must have learned some piano theory.
Yes, to remember. I mean, you already pointed out how old I am, but like, to give anybody perspective, I played from probably from 4 till 14.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So, and from 10 to 14, despite all I want to do is go play baseball, right?
Yep.
And now, and my mom always said, she's gonna listen to this podcast. Listen to everyone. You'll regret this. And I wish I could still play. Like, I wish I could sit down and play anything, but I could play Richard Marx.
There you go.
First chord of it. Wherever you go.
Oh,
you know that song? Yeah. I know you slow danced to that before.
Slow dance.
Awkward slow dance. Yeah.
That's the song.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear all the time now from a lot of the kids' parents, right? I wish my parents didn't let me quit. So I wanted people to be really excited to come in, because I was never able to play on a grand piano unless I was at the Kingston Public Library. Actually had a beautiful grand piano. Or our church, Polson Park Free Methodist Church, had a beautiful young Chang piano there. It's a Japanese piano. It's actually beautifully done. And when I played on it, I didn't want to stop. Well, that's like the teacher's dream, is that you don't want to stop playing because you're inspired. But when you go home on, dinky light up piano or an upright, it's just not the same experience, right? So our idea is, I wanted people to feel like they're pumped to come to lessons and pumped to play on the grand, because when you sound better, you sound better.
Yeah, look good, feel good, right? Sound like it's the same idea. Look good, feel good.
Exactly.
Right? Good.
Yeah. So
and now what else you got? So in that room, I mean, I was there twice. Walked towards the back to use the bathroom, was at the back, but it looked like you had all kinds of different
instruments.
Yeah, genres, or like rooms. Are they all themed? You've got vocals in there. You've got guitar. Like, what do you have in there?
Yeah, so our main instruments are piano, guitar, voice. Sunday is drum day, so it gets its own day, because we really wanted people to be able to thrash around and have
nobody else wants to be in there when they're smashing it. Like,
exactly.
You want to be playing the piano while somebody's beating on the drums, right?
Exactly. So no matter how much soundproofing you try to do, like, good luck drowning out the drums. So I didn't want to put in an electric kit, because again, it's not as fun. Like, I have all these, these acoustic grand pianos, I didn't want to put in an electric drum kit. I said, no, we have to have a full acoustic set because it's a better experience. So Sunday's drum day. The other days we've got piano, guitar, voice going. In guitar, we have, you can do some bass guitar. You can do the ukulele, which is a much more, it's a friendlier instrument because it's pretty quick to pick up certain things, but it's not a virtuosic instrument. In other words, it's not like the hardest. You can't do super crazy stuff on a ukulele. And then the most exciting thing lately is we've just built out a production room. So it's it actually is so cool. I have to show you. I don't think I brought you in there. But we've got like some really nice studio monitors. The lighting's really fun. We've sound treated the room. The shape of the room, we built it out to the 4 decimal points of the inch. Thank you, Justin Dow from SLR Studios. He was with us teaching for almost 5 years, and he's a sound engineer, so he helped us design the room. And it's a great little space. And the idea is that when you come into Elite Studios and you're learning guitar, or you're learning to sing, or you're songwriting, or learning a big song on piano or something, you want to keep that as a keepsake. And you can go hop in the production room and record it and take it home on an MP3. You have it forever. So whether it's, you at your age and you're songwriting and you want to come in and actually record a song, maybe put it on Spotify or something, you can do that. Or if, your kids, they're still little, let's say you're like, I want to hear what they sounded like at their ages and just kind of preserve, like, look what you were doing at 9 years old or whatever, then you have that keepsake as well.
Awesome. That's where Taya records?
That's actually no. Taya has not recorded there yet, but she's going to be.
We should have done this. This is not a very sound like friendly room in here. We know that. We're working on it, right? We're working on it. So that's an incredible story. And so, how long have you owned Elite? Like, so how many years are we talking from the building? So you went from like your living room to when you actually us too. Like, I don't really count the times in my garage, even though they're very important to me. But like, what, since you moved into that first building, the pump station.
Right. Okay. So so I moved here in a blizzard on January 1st, 2013. And so those were my like garage days, my living room days, and moved into my first place. Actually, I think it was August of 2014. So it was really quick.
Yeah. I
was full like in a snap. And there were like hardly any music studios around here. When I first moved here, there was like Long and McQuaid. I heard of Pete Palazzolo. There was Breath of Music, who isn't around anymore. Like very, very few places. And what I said from the beginning is, what's going to be really important is to see the development of other music studios in town. Because if there's a demand for it, then that means that there's clientele for it. But if nobody cares, then there's no competition. That's not a good thing. And now I really like to think that we played a big part in this because we provided a really cool experience for the community. We've had so many people come in and out of the studio. We've been around long enough now. I'm proud to say actually that I've started a few people on the piano who have now graduated through their teacher's level, and I've rehired 4 of them.
That's the best.
Which is sick.
Yeah, I love that. We have some kids here that have been here since like teen program, and now they work for us. That to me is like this huge win. I love that so much. And you hit on something very important. People are so scared of competition. When competition, like, really it makes you better. Like, it makes you thrive and step up, but like in terms of like, it brings more people to the area looking for something, right? Looking for that thing. And whether it's your way or somebody, if your life's mission is to get people to be passionate about music and have a love for music, then really at the end of the day, if you can't provide the service, it's okay for them to go somewhere else. Like, there's gyms everywhere now, like small gyms, and there's more coming on the daily. And at the end of the day, usually it gets me more business because people find out like the value we provide. But if not, my mission is to help people, get more fit.
I love that.
So if that's going to be somewhere else, I don't think it's necessarily the best way, or I do that, but that's fine with me. Like, go for it. And if it suits you best, because at the end of the day, for somebody, like you said it in your bio that you sent me there, at the end of the day, you need consistency to be good at anything. And to have consistency, you need to have a positive association with that hobby or passion, whatever that is, right? And so people have a positive association with exercise, they're not going to do it. They don't have a positive association with playing the piano or guitar or singing, they're not going to do it. So go find somewhere that helps you and be like want that competition. That's what I love to hear about people, and people who are confident love that. And that's one of the things that kind of like spurred me to have this conversation with you today. And like we were talking, and you're young, and maybe I'm looking compared to me like you're it's like judging the book by its cover, right? Like you're made up, you look great all the time, you're always like walking in your heels that I tease you about, right? But man, like you're a pretty badass chick. Like you do things, you lift weights, you read, you're looking to grow your team, like you run a killer business. And then the other thing that I like to see, and it shows confidence, is like when I say things like some of my posts that have been like hated on by some women, but a lot of the real strong women love it. Like when I say like men should be this, this, and this, I'm not saying that women should be anything else.
Right.
I'm saying that I think men should be strong. They should protect their families. They should, make decisions. And women who are threatened by that, I think that's something on you. That's not something, I'm not saying women could be all those things and then some. I actually think women are doing a way better job of it. But you like kind of celebrated that and say like, yeah, like obviously, Mike's he's not a beta. That's by any means, absolutely. Right? Like, so, like you kind of like, those two kinds of people in the same room can just make each other better. Yeah. Man, woman, 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 man, it doesn't matter. But that's what kind of one of the things I respected about you right away.
Thank you. But we see that in the way that you and Danny have your relationship, like the way that you treat your wife, the way that you, empower each other. It just, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. I mean,
she empowered each other. She's like ripping on me nonstop, but she's on the last podcast and we like, do you think that I there's no chance she can beat me in a skating race? We're back on this again. There's no chance, Irv. Call me a chauvinist. There's no chance I'm losing to her in a skating race.
So like
next winter.
Is it that her technique is better? Like
she's a figure skater. She knows how to skate. Like she's a very good skater. Much better skater than me. But I'm talking straight freaking line, not doing like spins or nothing.
Right. Anyways. So like the question is, when you fall, are you strong enough to catch her? Because the consistency.
I am. If we turned, I'm done. That's what the it's been straight line. Maybe we should
drag race.
We should go to Kingston, find like a nice pond.
Oh, there you go.
Like a straight like canal. Do it
problem.
outside. Okay.
That's Ottawa.
Yeah, Ottawa. That's right. Close enough. That's the last stop right before 407.
Basically.
To Kingston, then the next
It's the next notable stop. Sorry, everyone in between. It's the next notable
I haven't
stop.
been to Kingston in a very, very long time, but I'm set to actually go in a little bit. Nice. Anyways, so back on track with you. But being strong and confident, like where do you think that comes from? Like has it always been something, or has it been something you struggled with in the past?
But being a strong, confident, that is a loaded question. I think growing up in a really solid, encouraging family, that was always edifying, always encouraging, really helps with that. So I don't think I ever had, low confidence in what I could accomplish. I was always told, you can do anything. I'm the oldest of two girls, and my dad is a track star. Track and field was his baby. He was our coach in school for like everything you can imagine. He has this whole wall of just red ribbons, only the red ones. On our wall at home, and he was going to be training for the Olympics.
Shredded the other ones.
He
literally burned them in the backyard.
You can ask him, like, Pete, where are the other? Anyway, he's so athletic and so talented. He didn't get boys. He got two girls. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of roofing with him. I've drywalled. I've painted. I've done tiling. Like, he made me like a handy girl. And when it comes to sports and athletics and things that, like, all that's not typically your guy stuff, but like Dad had me. I was his oldest child, and I didn't have a choice but to step up. But he never thought twice about it. It was just, Lisa, I'm gonna teach you how to hold a bat now. Like, get that elbow up, stick that butt out. You know what I mean? So in terms of confidence, I think since I was this high, I've always had it in that sense. But there's so many things we could talk about with that, because you can talk about, like, what is confidence? Is it about, what you can do, what your accomplishments are, what your successes are, or rather your perceived successes? Or is it about who you are as a person? Or is it about your, masculinity or femininity, or the way that you look? Because I think every single one of us have our own insecurities, and it's about how we, perceive those and the way that we, overcome them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. There's so much that comes with confidence, and I think a lot of it that comes to confidence is like the scars, the experiences, the bad experiences too. Because like every time you go through something shitty and you survive it, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? It's just the same as getting your kid to jump off the diving board. Like that's terrifying. You jump off, you get the scar, you know, you did it, and then you realize that I survived. I could do that again. Maybe I could go a little bit higher, and that's kind of like what it all is about. You made me think about this from a different perspective. Like as a father to two sons, my greatest fear, you know, former police officer, like, yeah, there's obviously with daughters you're always worried about, you know, pregnancy and the guy they're gonna bring home and this and that, and you know, but with sons, like, you're worried about like they do crazy shit that could kill them, which is fucking driving on motorcycles at you know, yes, like, so you are doing everything that I hope my sons don't do, which is that, like those the motorcycles and the fast boats and the fast boats and stuff.
You're what I want my kids to not be.
I'm gonna keep them away from you in that regard. is the fact that must stress your dad out a little bit?
So dad can't say
I won't tell him any
anything.
of my stories that I've seen with sport bikes.
I can only imagine. I don't even want to know, honestly. Dad can't say anything because he had a motorcycle.
Oh, there we go.
See, so he's off the hook. Mom's like pretty cool, and she also knows like that I'm a free spirit, and if she says don't do something, then now my focus is on the thing. So she like she's smart. She knows to not go there. Yes, I taught my bike out, but I feel like I'm not as crazy as I used to be.
Well, that's a good thing. I feel like none of us. I have zero need for speed in my life. Like, I have no interest. I went up to CN Tower last week. I was like, fuck. I'm like going up that stupid elevator. I'm like, I don't need to be up this high anymore in my life. Like I've jumped off buildings, been in helicopters sideways. You know, I've done all these crazy things. Like I like have zero need for that anymore in my life. It's a really weird thing. I used to like, you know, live for those like adventures and things like that. Not on motorcycles necessarily, but those like types of things. The adrenaline, right? And like now, I don't know. I just don't really need it. I just don't like. Sure, I'd love to get in a good little brouhaha, like punch somebody in the face. Maybe would be fun, but like, but other than that, like I don't really like. You know, I don't really. So, like,
do you ever like crave that adrenaline anymore though?
You know what? If I went back and like did a raid or something, I'm sure I would love it, and it would like get me that charge. And you know, the fighting thing really helps going downstairs. Like I was talking about, we get punched in the face. The MMA stuff is helping with that. Like it's enough. Like, you know, last night going in and punching another man in the face and get punched in the face and kicked in the legs. Like it gets you there, and it gets that kind of like thing out of you. But yeah, I don't really crave it at all anymore.
Interesting.
You know? And it's weird. You stop. I've told this on the podcast before, but you stop doing things that out of your comfort zone a little bit. And then I went up to a cliff up north this winter, and I like up this high cliff. It wasn't that high either. And I'm at the top, and I'm like, I don't want to jump. And my kids are in the boat. My little guy's like, live a little, Dad, which is a tattoo I have. He's like, live a little. And I'm like, oh, now I got to jump, right? But like, you get used to being out of that comfort zone in anything. Right? Adrenaline is another one, or fears of like heights or whatever it is. The more you take yourself back out of that space, the harder it is to get back there again.
I think that's so true. I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson lately. I love that guy. And he talks about the yin and the yang of life. And he talks about chaos versus order a lot. Yes. And he talks about how you can't just have chaos in your life, of course, because that's not good for anybody. But, you know, too much order isn't good either, because that's really boring and it doesn't challenge you. So there has to be, you know, like the Taoist symbol where there's in the yin, there's a little bit of a dot of the yang and vice versa. And he said, in your order, you mostly want your life to be orderly, but you definitely want a percentage that's chaotic, because that's what pushes us to grow. And, you know, you think of that in my business, it was very chaotic when I decided to scale up my business to like that drastically, from that little tiny, I call it the cube, 600 square feet to 2,500 square feet, and what all that meant in order to stay afloat. Right? But that challenge is almost like I live for that challenge, but too much of that challenge is overwhelming.
Yes.
So it has to be a challenge that I believe is attainable and realistic, but still crazy enough to be inspired by the idea that I would be really proud if I achieved it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Maybe the adrenaline had me thinking a different way, but same with business. It's like, we get here, you got the 2 gyms, it's running great, pretty much full, and it's like I start to get, and Irv's in on all these meetings, and then I start to do all those like flow charts over there, different things that we could do and different ways that we could grow. And that I can grow. Really, it's like the garage gym is what it is, and like let's make this a great place to be. Now I want to do something a little bit different, which is like the Tango One Solution stuff. So it's like, I hope there's a time. Maybe it should never be though. Maybe that's what keeps you going into your, keeps you staying young when you get old, is that constant drive to do something else, to do more and be more, right? And to keep
more
doing
and be more
things. So which is like, do more for others, be more for yourself. It's not always about, constantly needing more things, right? That's a big difference, I think, and it gets lost in a lot of entrepreneurs at the start too, because there is no cap, right? When I was a cop, there was a cap. You could make a certain amount, and but here, making less money and doing more things with more people is way better.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, even though I never wanted to work the 9 to 5, and now of course we work 24/7 because we're entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's like, I don't work 9 to 5, I work 5 to 5, and then I'm back at 8.
Yeah, but it's still, the idea that myself, with the help of my team, have created a new opportunity that didn't exist before. And actually, this was a very cool moment for me. I had the representative from Roland. Roland's pianos? Yeah. And they make a bunch of stuff, but notably pianos because of what I do. I actually met him at Long and McQuaid, and he asked what I did, and I said, well, actually, I have a music studio. We don't sell stuff like these guys, but he said, well, can I stop by? I said, of course. And he stopped by, and he said, this is actually incredible. I've never seen a studio like this, and my job is to travel all over Ontario to different music studios. And he said, this is a horrible business idea, but it's amazing to come in, which I've always said, it's a horrible business idea. Why? Because instead of having double room wides, I could have 2 rooms.
Right, you can make twice the amount of, it's like me adding, it's the same theory with me and, well, let's just say it, at 45, right? Like, yeah, I could cram 45 people in there, right, and make it, but I don't want that experience. I want people to feel like they are getting the most of their space and like the most of their coaching and those kinds of things, make them feel important, right? Like, not like just like it's not a transaction, it's experience.
Absolutely. Right? The experience is so important, and I'm very artistic, I'm very visual, and so the room that I'm in, like, this is super cool in here, by the way. Like, I feel like this is just badass. We got our whiskey, we got like this camo going on. Like, the room that you're in really affects everything. And when you're doing something creative, as I do for music, the interpretation is really important. Because you can sing or play a song that has 0 emotion. And it could be perfect. Your rhythm's perfect. Your notes are perfect. Good for you. Slow clap, because you didn't make anybody stop and turn their head, and you didn't grab anybody emotionally at all. And that's kind of the point of music, is to feel something. Anything. It could be angry. It could be happy, sad. You name the emotion. That's the whole point.
Well, right? That's a great point, because like when the National Anthem is a great example, in my opinion, of that, because I'm an avid Irv is an avid sports goer. Like, you've heard that thing obviously a million times, like whether it be the Star Spangled Banner or Over Here, Oh Canada. But there's sometimes when you're like you're into it, you're drawn into it, and that's coming from the same song, just a different way of throwing it out there, or the feel that's coming out of that voice, or the musician. So that you're like bang on with that, and like, how many times have you been and heard the same song just by a cover band somewhere, but like some people do it different, and it just pulls something out of you that makes you kind of like your feet start moving, you want to dance, or you want to have fun, or you want to you get emotional, whatever that might be. It's pretty,
absolutely.
Yeah, music's powerful.
Yeah, people always ask me, what's your favorite kind of music, or what's your favorite song? I'm like, do you think I could ever pick one? Absolutely not. It's like, my rule is this: it has to make me feel something. It could be any genre, and if it doesn't grab me some way, then I'm not listening to it. And I'm talking to you, I can listen to even pop, heavy metal when I'm doing my heavy lifting, classical sometimes, jazz, country. I'll listen to it all, but it all has like a different vibe and grabs you a certain way. Yeah. So there's certain songs I like by certain artists, in certain genres, because of the way that it makes me feel. And then of course it can affect your heart rate, right? So like the higher the BPMs, the beats per minute, it actually scientifically it changes your heart rate. That's why in the gym you usually have your pumped up music, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, I listen to all kinds of weird stuff in the gym. But yeah, the space is a real good point for anybody listening. Like the space is a very, very important. So this studio, really, it's a piece of shit if you look beyond the camera here. But it's huge. It's big and it's spacious. And the lights behind our lights don't need to be off. Irv and I and the other Casey, when he was co-hosting with me, found that turning those lights off behind and keeping these lights on here made the conversation like much more intimate, I guess.
Yeah.
You're like way more focused.
So
now we
That's
shut
the
those
word.
lights off regardless, because it just gives we're giving the right setting for an in-depth conversation.
Absolutely.
Which is the best part about podcasting by far, is like getting to sit down with people like you, who I always leave here with something, right? And that's the best part of that, is having these conversations, and there's no phone, there's no anything.
Yeah.
So that the space is so important. So anybody at home, if you got like your office space, like that was big for me too, was redoing my office during COVID to make it like more, you know, me, and more like an inspirational place to do my work, right? And I think that's so important. And I love that you focus on that. That's probably why you succeed.
Something that is interesting too is the lighting and the colors and all of that. Like blue is a really interesting color too, because it's calming. When I'm playing piano, there's like your normal baseline of people, and then there's the spectrum of attention, of hyperactive disorder. Like we have a lot of people from all walks of life, and that means we have everyone from the depressed, the elderly, we have super young, we have Down syndrome people that come in, we've got the ADHD, autism, you name it. We work with everybody. And it's really interesting. That's what keeps it alive, by the way. That's what like the spice of the life is working with different people, because we've got to pivot and change the way that I communicate and the things that we focus on based on the person in the chair. So one thing that I learned from completing the interior design course that I did was color theory, and how the lighting and the colors will affect you. So I had this one gentleman, he was probably late 50s. This is years ago, and I could not get him to play with any sort of power or volume to save his life. And I'm like, hey, this guy is like barely touching the piano, and I come in there and exaggerate to show him an example, like, no, you need to like like, it didn't matter how I explained it to him, it wasn't happening. So I made him come outside with me and whip a ball around, and I made him go home and use this stress ball that he had to really, and all these what I also did actually with him is I put a red light in the room, and that red is the color of passion, of intensity, of aggression. And honestly, the combination of everything made him start to open up and develop that like intensity and passion in his playing, because it's very baseline boring. Whereas I might have someone that can only play loud and they're always tense and aggressive. And
Do
I'm
I know
like,
somebody
okay.
like that? You know?
I mean, if you did, I certainly wouldn't say it on your podcast, Tony.
I can just see it. That's all. I'm going with it.
You can change the lighting. Green is the color that like directly focuses on your retina. It's the most calming color for us. The grass is green. It's the color of nature. So I'll play around with that just for fun to see how it affects whoever I've got on the bench.
It's so interesting, and I love hearing stuff like that too. So people who are like going to school, and like there's always people like struggling with like what to learn. What do I like learn something? It always helps. Like you took interior design, and then all of a sudden it's helping you. It's one of the like main pieces of your new business, which has nothing really to do with interior design.
Yeah.
If you looked from the outside, I took architecture in school. I was terrible at it. However, when I moved into SWAT, what was the one thing from school I learned the most? It wasn't fucking math. It was architecture. How are places built, and how can I defeat this building, right? And it's like, it's so weird how these things that you learned that you thought were meaningless in your life, or were a wrong decision, right?
Yeah.
A wrong decision. I hated it. It was a wrong decision to go into that program, but it played such a part in like some of the successes I had.
Yeah.
Such an odd way that the world
new
works
information.
like that.
Yeah, it never returns to you void, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's flip the script a little bit. People want to know why you're so ripped, so let's get into that. bodybuilding. So bodybuilding and like fitness was a thing. I know you start every day off with a workout, and you know, we were talking at dinner the other night that you know you feel off when you're not hitting your workouts and disappointed, and it just sets the tone for your whole day. So you're a 6 a.m.er or a 5 a.m.er or something like that, right?
Well, I have to be honest, I flip-flop. I'll be a 5 a.m.er really hard, and then all of a sudden I'm a 9 p.m.er.
The 9 p.m.s kill me, though. I can't sleep after.
Oh.
But I do not work out at 5 a.m. I get up at 5 a.m., but I can't work out in the morning. But yeah, so fitness has always been part, or not always been, but a long time been part of your life.
Well, I guess this goes back to my dad and, you know, how crazy of his 50th birthday, he challenged me to a race because he'd always been able to kick my ass.
My kind of guy.
He was always able to kick my ass. I'm like, okay, 50-year-old, you're definitely not, because I'm fast. I beat like all the boys. Okay, we're racing. He left me in the dust again. And I was just like, how dare you? So I've always been brought up with this like little friendly competition thing. So, I mean, growing up with dad, I was in every single sport, everything that was possible through school. I was always, you know, trying out for the teams and, you know, on all the sports teams. And I think from that, my dad was a sprinter, and he always said how he could not run long distance. And I just thought I couldn't run long distance either because it sucks. And then I discovered, like, actually, I can run past that sucky I'm gonna die part, which was really inspiring to me, actually, to find that out, because it was a journey for me. I had asthma as a small child, and so when I first started running, it was in the winter because I'm super intelligent with that, and I would come back and be coughing all day after. And I kept running until I was past that point, and this was running 1 kilometer, by the way. And I got to the point where I was running 12K. I'm like, that was pretty sweet. And I told my dad, and he goes, that's crazy. I could never do that. And I just thought, well, it's really interesting because I didn't think I could do it either. And here I am running these 12Ks. But also I don't want to be this skinny scrawny, which I had always been. And, you know, so let's start going to the gym. And so long story short, I started going to the gym, and how I got into the bikini fitness competitions was I started going to Riverside Family Fitness, and the owner, Joey Flores, who I'm good friends with now, I didn't know him at the time, and he came up to me my first day in the gym, and I didn't know he was the owner. And he goes, wow, like, you got really good shape there. Like, and all I'm hearing is good shape and, like, bikini and, like, competitions. And I'm like, who's this guy? And I go home, I'm talking to my ex at the time, and I'm like, I gotta tell you, like, this guy at the gym, like, and he goes, Lise, that's the owner, that's Joey. And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, when it comes to, like, the actual, like, physique modeling, like, Joey's one of the best in this city, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And so I went in the next day, and I apologized. I was like, I didn't know who you were. So, like,
well, you probably could have approached that differently too, I would think. Like,
yeah, Joey, like,
hey,
come
you
on.
got a great shape.
I was doing pull-ups, actually. He came up, he's like, wow, a lot of girls don't do pull-ups. I'm like, okay, I can do exactly 7. So anyway, he got me, you know, I didn't even know what the competitions were. So here I did, like, the track and field, the sports teams, the running, and now I'm at the gym, and the gym's new to me. And he starts talking about, you know, like, let me show you girls that have competed and what they can be like, what they look like. And I'd actually always been very curious about getting a 6-pack. And I'm like, how come I've never had one? I'm really athletic. I don't get it. And then I learned abs are made in the kitchen. And so he just taught me a lot through going through preps and everything and seeing, you know, all my abs come in like crazy. I'm like, holy shit, this is pretty cool that I just did something that I didn't think my body was actually capable of. And I saw, okay, if you have the right tools and, you know, you learn a thing or two and just stick to the program and trust the process, then it all comes in. You did something you didn't think you could do, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and then you've kind of stuck to it, and you've changed your ways in a lot of ways. Like, I know we were speaking about this recently, about like people need to understand, like, what they're seeing on those stages. I hope everybody listening to this podcast at this point gets it, but maybe there's some new listeners that, you know, what you see on the stage is not necessarily you're walking around. Wait, you know, we had Jackie Malash on here just recently, and, you know, she's obviously still does this for a living. it's not what you see at all times. So we need to
Right.
find something for life that's going to be sustainable so that you could do your business. And like, if you got to make a decision, are you going to continue to try to be on the stage, or are you going to run the life, or are you going to try to do both at the same time? And a lot of times something has to give if you want to have any kind of,
Yes.
social life too, right?
Absolutely.
Like the balance, finding that balance has always been a key. But I think it's important is like with you, like, people, they're going to pull you up on Instagram, they'll see what you look like and stuff, is like, you're not like a cardio queen. You lift weights, like
I lift weights,
on the
yeah.
daily weight. Like, that's what I love to hear. And that's what we love to hit home with women. That's been like Danny's lifelong mission, or 10-year mission, is to been like to teach women that, lifting weights is going to produce those aesthetic results that you want, but also make you fucking stronger, which is a bonus, right? Instead of like the constant cardio.
Absolutely.
So what's your like? What do you do? What's your daily routine? What's your number one?
Oh,
I know glutes. You're always talking about the booty work. We
3
always
glute
joke
days
about
a
that
week.
stuff. Mike's like, I can't do any more ass work, man. It's killing me.
That's too good. Yeah, Mike shows me the bicep workouts. I show him the glute workouts. So. I love that Danny's preaching that message, because it's totally right. And I never knew it either. I thought, if you lift heavy weights, you get all bulky. No, in fact, if you think that, you'll definitely not get bulky, because you'll never even get to the point where you want to look, where you could get past that to look bulky, because, building muscle burns the fat at rest.
Right.
And, a lot of this is educating people how the body works. And I mean, you touched on a lot of issues, but one of them also is osteoporosis. And I have a bit of a history of that in my family, and lifting heavy weights is a big deal for women to make sure that our bones continue to be dense and strong by having them under the pressure constantly. So that's really important. Being strong, like you said, is obviously important. And then aesthetically, it's your waist can only get so small. And all women want the booty to waist ratio to be dramatic. And so the only other way to get that is to build out your hips and your butt, right? Because your waist only gets so small through diet and, nutrition, some cardio, whatever, and weightlifting all helps that. But other than that, you have to build muscle to create your shape.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's important to note that, like, if we are going to spread that message, it's not going to be from people like me. Like, it's not going to be from the tattooed guy with the muscles that's telling people this. It's going to be from, like, women like you, women like Danny, women like my mom, who, like, is still lifting weights at 65 years old.
Love it.
Keep, like, to make that message so that this whole, like, long time, it's been going on for years and years and years with this the scale and the pictures, and like that needs to change. It's starting to change, but only changes through example, though. That's what I hope people understand. It's like, if you're a mom listening to this, and you're not a mom, but like you are an example to all those young girls who come into your studio.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just tell people, you have, the scale doesn't matter, but then you're going to Weight Watchers, and you're doing these things, you're drinking those shakes, and that, taking in 600 calories a day. You're not showing them. You're saying it, but you're not showing. So showing is always going to be the way, and you have that influence on other people, and I'm glad that you take it seriously. Something to be proud of, for sure. So adventure bucket list. Like, so the adventure girl herself, you got you in here. What are we talked about a little bit about my bucket list? Safari. I've done a lot of my adventure stuff. My bucket list, like, some survival stuff that I really want to do. I got a couple more things on my list, but what's big on your list?
Well,
other than being on the Tango podcast, you could scratch that off.
Number one,
sharing bourbon. Of course, the motorcycle rider wanted to come in and have bourbon on the rocks, not like no Chardonnay here. So what are we doing? What are you gonna? What are you doing?
The first thing that I had on my list was actually skydiving in Dubai over the Keys. And I don't know why that was going to be my first skydiving
specific,
trip.
okay.
I don't know why it was in my head. I mean, how does anybody make a bucket list? Like, I don't know. That sounds cool. Like, I don't know. Maybe I want to do that. You add it to the list, right? And so that was something I wanted to do. But I ended up going to Vancouver last June, and went skydiving for the first time. And my mom was like, I don't know how you made it so long without going, because when you were 2 years old, you jumped off the 12th step and just yelled, "Dad!" and he happened to turn around and catch you midair. She's like, I just thought you would it would have done that long ago. But anyway, that was my first time skydiving. So I checked that off the list. I still have to do it in Dubai. Anything adrenaline, I have always had like an affinity to, I guess. It's like that thing that most people are scared to do. So that means I definitely want to do it. And it's super badass and it's super fun. And you get like the adrenaline rush and like a cool story behind it and everything. So, okay, skydiving I've done, hang gliding, like anything that's just like something out of the ordinary and has an adrenaline rush. So it was so funny doing your survey. You sent me a survey before coming on the podcast just to get an idea of, you know, what we could, you know, talk about and to get an idea of me, I guess. And it was, I have to tell you, it was a soul search. And
so many people have said that to me. I'm like, I don't feel that's what I'm. Why? Maybe that's good. It's always good to soul search, I guess. But yeah, you're not the first guest to say that. And I'm like, I always thought it would like, okay, just take 5 minutes to fill this out. But people are like, oh man.
Oh yeah, no, it was like a full, like existential crisis moment. No, not quite that bad, but like, what's the message you want to tell people? The message? Like I get to pick one? Like, I don't know. Like there's so many things, and I think I was telling you even when like you guys came out for my birthday on Monday, which was really great, and I appreciate you guys being there, by the way.
Well, it was fun. It was very fun.
I mentioned to you that I had listened to this other podcast on YouTube.
Cheater.
By a Harvard business guy, Harvey something, I don't know, cheater. And he was mentioning how it's better, instead of asking, why are you successful or how did you become successful, to ask, what are your successes? What are your successes, Tony?
Oh, boy. My successes are a lot of the stuff we've talked about. I think we've changed. I've had a part in it, changing the way that women perceive themselves and making, you know, like sheep into lions. That's the whole goal of this place, and I think that's what I do on a daily basis with people of all walks, men, women, children. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, and to pinpoint like what are some of your successes means like there have been successes that we've had that we can be proud of, and like to provide opportunities for people, to provide a different experience, you know, in my line of work, for people to come in and really enjoy music and to get an absolutely excellent experience in what they walk into, and then to trust that they've been trained so well because they came to us that I am 100% confident in hiring them back, and now I'm providing them, you know, a job, right? And to be part of our team, which is really, really cool. So you can pinpoint all different successes, maybe doing the fitness thing, like the bikini competitions are part of a success just personally. But I think what means more to me is what can I give to other people, because that's where we truly gain validation for our existence, right? Is what can we give back to the world, and like, why am I here, right? Like, how can I make the world a better place than when I came into it?
Legacy. What are you leaving behind? How are you, you know, and what you leave behind isn't even how you'll be remembered. It might be the action of somebody that you affected. Yeah. Based on a lesson they learned from you, or watching you, or listening to you, whatever that is. And that, to me, that's, you know, at some point in life, that's the big step, when it becomes about what you're leaving. You know, like, what's your legacy? What's your succession plan? What are you going to leave behind? Are you going to leave it better? And everything you do, every encounter, all day long. You know, I was at the LCBO today. Like, I want to make that, the lady who, you know, bagged my bottles, I only bought 5 or 6, but the lady who bagged these bottles, I want to make her day better. Yeah. So I want to leave that. That's like legacy. It's not maybe legacy, but it is for that day. Mm-hmm. It is for that encounter. Leave that minute better than when I walked in, right?
It's the ripple effect too. And I heard someone say, don't focus on the splash as much as the ripple. Right. And I'm like, that's so good. So good, because it goes so much farther. It's like so much more, you know, effective when you have no idea how, you know, the way that you treated her today might make her treat the next customer or make her, you know, react differently when she goes home, right?
Exactly. Which could affect the next customer. Maybe now she goes in with that smile. They go home to their wife with her or their husband with a smile. Like, it's just, that's, to me, that's it. Like, make everybody just be a little bit happier.
Yeah.
Don't respond to a negative with a negative. That's one of my rules on my whiteboard that sits in front of me every single day.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered so much stuff. It's pretty crazy in like less than an hour. So, guys, if you haven't listened, another person who soul searched for their Tango One podcast forum is Kara Murray. Kara and Ian Murray are Kingsville OGs, and they're the sponsor of this podcast from Murray Insurance. They're also going tonight about the 6WT. They got a good chance to win and place. They're supporters of everything local in Kingsville, especially. They hire from their community, and they have over 100 years of experience in their office. If you're looking for insurance, financial advice, they are a one-stop shop. Look them up on Instagram at Team Murray Insurance and let them know that Tango One sent you. And of course, Mike's got to get some of this gear. Get on him. This guy, he talks about getting gear, but then he never gets it. The 10,000 gear, you guys can use code TANGO15. It is the best men's gear. And you know what, guys? It wasn't made for yoga and stretching and being comfy. It is made for men, by men, so that we can go out and do man shit. So get on that website and order yourself some shorts, or order them. Ladies, order them for your significant other. Use Tango15, and I would appreciate that very much. You won't be disappointed. So thank you for coming on today, Lisa. Like, I think we found the title right at the end. Hey, Irv? We always find the title. Somebody always says something that, like, you're like, I'm sitting here like, that's the title. The ripple effect.
Oh, there you go.
And you definitely spread it. You're always so happy in it. I know I've only known you for 2-3 months, but it feels like I've known you forever because that's the kind of welcoming, like, friendly smile you have. And when you talk to somebody, you really look into them, and like you look like in your soul. And it's like, oh, man, this lady means business, right? And it's awesome to have conversations with you. So it's been great getting to know you, and thanks for coming on.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Tony.
Cheers. That's a wrap.
Woo!
Now's the time to do more and be more.